G Life. This right here is beautiful Cali, California, home of the palm trees, the beautiful weather, sandy beaches, the Hollywood nightlife, all that good stuff. But it is also gang banging capital, home to thousands and hundreds of different gangs and documented gang members throughout all of California, from the northern part all the way down to the southern part. Everything in between, from Hispanic to Asian, blacks, Cribs, Bloods, Northsiders, Southsiders, Asians, all of that. You know what I mean? So you do have a lot of chaos within its beautiful, climate and, Hollywood life. It gets treacherous in Cali. Now, with so many different gangs, obviously, there is neighborhoods who share things in common, similar traits. And one of them is, the Nuevo title to it. So that is what we'll be covering today. All the Nuevo Vario. So with no further ado, let's get into it. I keep it G like a G is supposed to. I'm from the old school, no one comes close to. Post it up and I do what I want to. Post it up and I do what I want to. I keep it G like a G is supposed to. I'm from the old school, no one comes close to. Post it up and I do what I want to. Post it up and I do what I want to. I keep it true and I mean every last word. I was fooled by the truth, we are gangsters. White tee creased up with a strap too. I'm from the bottom where we earn all our tattoos. Boy, it's taboo when you living just like I do. Air is up and we keep it all blue. I keep it loony and I don't mean like cartoons. They talk brave till they hear that click, clap, boom. It is what it is, we do what the G's do. Celebrate so we hotbox the whole room.
You are now watching M.O.D. Entertainment.
Now, in order to find the first of these Nuevo Varrios, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the east side of Los Angeles, to the area of Boyle Heights. Boyle Heights, obviously, the area that is very infamous, known for its, old varrios. One of the areas that's known for the, gangbanging, right? Gangbanging capital. One of the sections right here that is, well documented with its history, with streets. And this is home to one of these first Nuevo Barrios, which is obviously the Barrio VNE, Barrio Nuevo Estrada. Barrio Nuevo Estrada, the VNE gang, is located in the VNE projects, the Estrada Court projects, right here in Boyle Heights. This barrio is very infamous, very known, well documented, throughout there you can find, a lot of documentaries on this neighborhood. This barrio has been already right here, well established from the 1940s. Now people could be like, damn, the 1940s? How's it a Nuevo Barrio then? People have to understand, we're talking about Nuevo at the time. At the time that it started, it was a new neighborhood within that area. You had neighborhoods already that, predated that neighborhood, long before, like the Wyfins, the Maravillas, the Primeras. There was already barrios that had been well within that area for a lot of years, way before these individuals ever came into the picture. Even though this neighborhood is well, documented, well rooted itself, at the time it was a new neighborhood. When these projects were developed and opened and stuff like that, this was a new neighborhood within the block. So these individuals gathered together and named their barrio, the Nuevo Barrio, pues Barrio Nuevo. And obviously Estrada, because obviously located on Estrada Street where the Estrada courts are at, is why the E part is added to it, Barrio Nuevo Estrada. Already with a lot of clicks, from the from the Diablos to the Tiny Winos to the Santos to the courts to all kinds of different clicas, you know what I mean? The TikToks and all kinds. And the thing about this barrio is that it's just not located here in the east side of Los Angeles on Boyle Heights, but it is also located in Montebello. They have a branch in Montebello. They have a branch in Lancaster. So they already branched out to different areas. You know what I mean? It has heavily influenced in different areas already with established cliques within those areas, So they do have members located in different other cities, that represent for the VNE, because this neighborhood, at least from what I was told, it's a few hundred members to them. I was told more than 600 members to the VNE gang. So we're talking about a very large neighborhood, you know what I mean? But like I said, they already been here for a long, long time. So you can see why they have heavy influence. And then it doesn't help that the projects are there. The projects is always going to keep having new members sprout up, because families move in, families move out, and it's like a never ending supply of fresh blood for this neighborhood, because they have the V&E projects on lockdown. Their territory is everything essentially that's from 8th to Grande Vista, from Grande Vista to Olympic, and from Olympic all the way back around. Everything that's within the Estrada courts and the back streets like Hunter Street, Estrada Street, and all that, throughout Lorena, it's what's considered their barrio. So you can find the V&E gang, and like I said, they have the business. They got a lot of homies from this neighborhood, so I know that they be doing their thing. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the homies from V&E. I ain't gonna bust a roll call right here because I'll be here all day. But shout out to all the boys representing for that Estrada, projects, and still holding it down. Like I said, and they also have rappers, from their barrio. You can check out their music here on YouTube. Like Eastside Mayor and a few other individuals who are very talented. Who have music, from this neighborhood. You go peep them out right here on YouTube. But yeah, that's what's up with the V&E, the Barrio Nuevo Estrada. Another neighborhood that you have that uses the Nuevo title to it, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the area of the southeast. The southeast being, areas like Whittier, Santa Fe, all of that, and the city of Rivera. Pico Rivera to be exact. And it is here in Pico Rivera that you have one of these Nuevo barrios, to it. Obviously the Pico Rivera area is very known for, having a gang of neighborhoods, from the Viejos to the Jardins to the Riveras, Horseshoes, Sunrise, all kinds of different barrios, within this area. So it does get chaotic and hectic. But within the mix of all those different gangs, you do have a Nuevo Barrio, which is known as the Barrio Pico Nuevo. Pico Nuevo is already a neighborhood that has been well established here, at least from what I was told, from the 70s, that this neighborhood was established. It holds a large presence within the the city of Pico Rivera. Now, why they're known as the Pico Nuevo gang is because within the area of Pico Rivera, they were the new neighborhood on the block, because you had already neighborhoods that had already been in this area for a long time, like the Rivera Viejos, the Pico Viejos, the Jardins, gangs that have already been or Gymtown, for a long time within this area. So this was the new set of youngsters, the new, batch on the block. So, obviously taking the title of the city and then just branding themselves the new hood in the city, hence where they get the name Pico Viejo, Pico Nuevo from. Who goes at it with Pico Viejo? All these gangs are different. They have the Pico title to them, but they don't get along. They're adversaries, so you don't want to confuse them. And now, this neighborhood, obviously, a lot of people know about it because it's a neighborhood in which Bozo's from, Stomper, the Chicano rappers, this is the barrio in which they put it down for. I think there's a few more other ones, from this neighborhood. And the territory is pretty massive, right here in the city of Pico Rivera, is everything that's throughout Paramount Boulevard. Paramount Boulevard, their territory still stretches all the way to Washington Boulevard. From Washington Boulevard, their territory still extends to where like the 5 freeway's at, and from that all the way to where the San Gabriel riverbed and back around. So we're talking about a massive amount of territory. You know what I mean? Throughout Passions Boulevard, Whittier Boulevard, all of that, is what's considered their barrio. But their main domain, their dojo, like the heart of their hoods, is where the Rancho High School's at, and Smith's Park. Smith's Park is there. That's when you're already in the mouth of the lion, bro. That's when you're in the lion's den. And this barrio obviously being a few hundred members to them, and they still continue to hold it down right there for the city of Pico and for their barrio right there, the PN. Now, to find the next barrio up on the list, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the area of the SGV, the San Gabriel Valley. You already know the San Gabriel Valley is home to, a lot of neighborhoods that are well documented, already have their history. We're talking about some pretty, large, notorious barrios, like El Monteflores, the Baldwin Parks, the Puentes. But also, where you have one of these Nuevo barrios is actually located in the area of Monrovia. Monrovia has gangs? Yes, Monrovia has gangs, you know what I mean? The very infamous barrio, MNV, Monrovia Nuevo Barrio. Monrovia, Nuevo Vario, obviously the new hood right there in Monrovia at the time, because this neighborhood has already been right here for a long time, well established. But it was the new neighborhood within the area when you had the migration of, Raza families moving into the area, because before the area, was, heavily populated with like ranchers, and Caucasians, you know what I mean, which do still make the majority of the area, with, I think, it's like 53% being, Caucasian, and I think it's like 33% being, raza, and then, the other percentage being Asian and black. There is a heavy black, presence right here, because you do have, crib barrios within this area, like the Do-Rock Cribs, who are, well established there, and who go at it with the Monrovia gang. There's heavy beef between the barrios, you know what I mean? Definitely be cracking right here. The relationship between African American and raza within this area is, not all that, it's not too good, you know what I mean? With the gangbanging. And the Monrovia Nuevo Barrio is located, everything that's from Foothill Boulevard, all the way to Fifth Avenue. From that, their territory extends all the way to Duarte Road, and from Duarte Road, the turf still heads out all the way to Shamrock Avenue and back around. So everything that's in the middle throughout the area, what's like Chestnut, throughout Myrtle, Palm, Lime, Lemon, Olive, all of that, Magnolia, that's all considered the Monrovia Nuevo Varrios territory, and it does overlap with the Durock's cribs, like I said. Heavy animosity. And there's still other gangs, around the area that they feud with. The Duertes right there too. So it does get it on and cracking within this area. Don't ever get it twisted. Definitely pops off in Monrovia. And they are green raggers. They do use a green rag, but they are homeboys. Like I said, there's certain barrios that have their colors to them. I have already, talked about it in a video where I talk about all green rag sureños barrios. In that one, if you guys are curious, you can go watch that one. There's a lot of barrios that use the green rag. This happens to be one of them, but they are homeboys. And even though they go at it with the Do-Rock Cribs and people think it's a racist gang and wooty wad, they have black members in their barrio, from what you can tell right here from the pictures. They just go at it with the cribs. So there's racist talk and all that stuff. Just because gangs beef with each other don't make gangs racist. It's neighborhood beefs, not ethnicities. Neighborhood beefs. But yeah, this is one of the Nuevo Barrios right here, representing for the Monrovia Nuevo Barrio. Now, to find the next barrio on the list, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the Antelope Valley, to the Santa Clarita Valley to be exact, to the other valle, 661, definitely an area that cracks, you already know. Now, in the 661, this is also home to one of these Nuevo Barrios. People often forget. But to be more exact, we shall be maneuvering our way to the section that is known as Newhall. And in Newhall is where we're able to find the Barrio Newhall, or in Spanish, Pasillo Nuevo. Because you do see them hit it up, either one, Newhall or Pasillo Nuevo. Obviously, Newhall translates to Pasillo Nuevo. And yes, Newhall does have barrios. Like I said, it does get on and cracking in the Santa Clarita Valley, because you have, a bunch of different barrios within this area. You got the Valverdes, you got the Brown Familias, you got the Canyons, you got the Southside Riders, you have the the MMS, you have all kinds of different barrios within this area, you know what I mean? So don't think, that this area, is all lovely and ain't shit cracking, because the Newhall gang does get it on and cracking. And their territory is essentially what's all of Newhall, throughout Newhall avenues where you're able to find these guys, throughout Leon's, Newhall, throughout 13th, all the way to 16th. I would say their territory is probably from 16th, and from 16th all the way to 2nd. So that's from 2nd all the way to 16th. I would probably, say that that's their turf. That's a massive amount of territory. We're talking about 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. You guys, get the point. So it definitely gets on and cracking in the Newhall area. And the Newhall gang is one of, the more larger sets, within the Santa Clarita Valley. Is already a set that has been well established since the early 80s that this barrio was established. So they already have a cool minute being right here within this area, And from what, at least from what I was told, is this neighborhood is roughly a few hundred members to them. So they do have, the size on them because they got several clicas to them. You know what I mean? To their barrio, 8 Ball Boys and the Locos and all kinds of different clicas. You know what I mean? So this barrio definitely holds it down right there for their barrio, and still continue to put theirs on the map for that Pasillo Nuevo. Now, in order to find the next neighborhood on the list, we actually have to be maneuvering our way to the Desert Empire. You already know the Desert Empire is an area that cracks. The areas that consist of areas like Palm Springs, Cathedral City, areas like Indio and Coachella. Of course, you already know in Coachella is definitely cracking, bro. Coachella don't mess around, bro. Yeah, I know people think of it as the desert area and not that much could be, going on within this area, but people got it twisted right there because Coachella is an area that is filled with several barrios, you know what I mean? And there's heavy animosity within this area because, Coachella barrios tend to go at it with Indio barrios, and there's the beef and it gets hectic and chaotic in these areas, I know when people think of it, they see it lovely or it's a desert and all that. People have been watching too many movies, homie. In this desert is where you'll disappear for having that kind of mental. But it is within this area where we're able to find one of these Nuevo Varrios, which is known as the Vario VNC. VNC translating to Vario Nuevo Coachella. Vario Nuevo Coachella is roughly one of the more newer sets within because Coachella has a lot of different barrios, 52nd Avenues, 53rd, from the 50th Boys to the Coachella Tiny Locos to all kinds of different Coachella barrios, you know what I mean? Within this area. And we're talking about barrios that have already been right here for a long, long, long time. Don't ever get it twisted. This area was cracking, even since back then, So since, we have already old established barrios within this area, this was one of the newer neighborhoods that was coming up. So they were the young ones in the block, the new ones. Hence why they, named themselves Nuevo Barrio Coachella instead of being part of the Barrio Coachella Rifa dynamics, you know what I mean, to it. Because there's sub-gang cliques and stuff like that. It's kind of confusing and all that, but this was the newer bunch on the block, and their territory is everything that's located on 52nd. 52nd is what they claim, is what they represent. 57th Avenue, you already know on the 50s is definitely cracking. You don't want to be caught slipping right there, you know what I mean? And then from what I was told, is this barrio was roughly about 55 members to them. So not one of the more larger ones, but don't get it twisted. Still have individuals that handle business. That's what's up with the Barrio Nuevo Coachella.